of She Writes Press, and I am pleased to be introducing Amanda Barbara, the Vice President of Pubslush. Pubslush is a global crowdfunding platform only for books. Authors can raise funds, understand their audience, and publish successfully via self-publishing or traditional publishing. Pubslush also operates an independent imprint that acquires books from the platform, and for every book sold, donates a children's book to a child in need. And Amanda earned her bachelor's degree in public relations and creative writing at the University of Miami in Florida. And I'm pleased to be introducing her to all of you, and really, really happy that she's bringing this offering to the She Writes community and beyond. So hi, Amanda, thanks for being here.
Hi, Brooke. Thanks so much. Welcome, everyone. I know the topic of crowdfunding might still be new to many of you. And also, we're introducing Pubslush, which is kind of this new stepping stone for authors to not only raise funds for their book idea, but to also gain that one-on-one conversation with people in the industry to really help guide them into what path is the correct one for them. So if Brooke, if you don't mind just heading over to that next slide. So we'll just talk first and foremost, what is crowdfunding? Many of you might be asking yourself, what is it all about? It's a brand new term to me. It's new in the publishing industry. Crowdfunding is basically where any type of person looking to gain funds for their idea can post on a platform and give as much information as possible to their supporters. So whether or not they are trying to raise money for a business idea or a book idea or a film, they can post a summary, an excerpt, a video, and rewards. And they drive traffic to their campaign page where supporters can come on and pledge a certain amount of money in return for a reward on certain levels. Websites that you might be familiar about or have heard in passing are Kickstarter and Indiegogo. These platforms are great, but they accept all different types of projects. So a lot of the book projects aren't really as visible on these sites. So that is where Pubslush comes in. Pubslush is optimized and specialized just for authors, and really is a great place for a community of readers and writers to come together. So if you want to just head to the next slide.
Yeah.
So what is Pubslush? Pubslush is a global crowdfunding and analytics platform for books. We're really here to not only be a platform for authors to raise those funds, engage the initial audience for their book ideas, but we're also here to be that personal one-on-one connection between the author and people in the industry. Taking you 10 years. It's something that's a passion of yours, something that you're doing on the side from, what your life has handed you. And there's so many people in your network that know that that your passion for writing or that your dream of making your book a reality. So those people would be the first you'd head to support you on something like Pubslush. That would really, maybe they would buy your book on Amazon for $15, but maybe they want to give you that extra money to help you mitigate some of your own financial risk and burden by getting this book to become a reality. Pubslush is entirely about giving. We're giving an opportunity for authors to be heard, to be read, giving a voice to readers in a somewhat non-democratical scenario where publishing has always been non-democratic. Readers never get a say of what gets published. This is giving readers a way to come on to Pubslush, take a look at some new content and see if they really like the topic, see if this is something they want to support. And we also have a philanthropy that gives children books that don't have access to literature. So if you want to just head to that next, perfect, thank you. So how does it work? It's really simple, and we help you in any way we can to make this as easy as possible. So how it works is you upload a summary and the best 10 pages of your book idea to Pubslush. You design your own fundraising goals and incentives for supporters. So what does that mean? That means that, if you want to set goals, let's say, for example, at a $5 level. At a $5 level, you may give someone, a personalized thank you email for your support. And then as the reward levels get higher and higher, so do the incentives. So at a $15 level, they get a copy of the ebook. At a $30 level, they get an ebook and a print book. I mean, an ebook and a print book, a print copy of your book. So, and these reward levels can be as creative as possible. You really want to put as much of your personality, your book's genre into these type of rewards as an enticing mechanism for your supporters. You know, as if they're exciting, maybe at a $200 level, and your second book, you get a character named after you. People feel a part of the process, and it's so huge when you're publishing a book. Support. Once you launch your campaign, you want to promote your book as much as you possibly can. And that, you know, that is a lot of the writers out there struggle, is how to really market their book successfully. You know, we commit ourselves to communicating with our authors on a one-on-one basis and really giving them these great tips for success and how they can use all these free resources that are out there to them to really take their book to the next level. And we'll get into some of those ideas later on in the presentation. And then the third step is publish. You use the funds that on Pubslush to choose any avenue that you wish. So there's no contract with Pubslush. You're just on Pubslush to raise those funds. And then we will be there to talk you through if you think self-publishing is the avenue for you, or whether you think you want to now take these funds to approach an agent to show that there's a market for your book, to show that people are interested pre-publication. It's a huge tool, these numbers, these pre-order numbers, that you could use to approach an agent who in turn can approach a traditional publisher. Next slide. So if some of you on the call that have heard about these other platforms for crowdfunding, such as a Kickstarter and an Indiegogo, you're probably asking yourself, why Pubslush? Why would I go to this route rather than these other sites that are larger? And these are the answers for you. We are specifically books. That means that the supporters that are coming onto our site are looking for new reads. They're specifically readers and people that want to support literacy efforts and literacy projects. We offer flex funding. Flex funding means that on other sites, if you don't reach your goal, you lose all the funds you raise, which is really discouraging for authors, because authors have a wide variety of costs associated with a book, whether it's cover design, editing, copy editing, ebook layout, ebook distribution. Whether the costs range, and every little bit that you raise on Pubslush can help you mitigate your own financial risk. So we offer a flex funding plan, which means an author can set a minimum goal and a maximum goal. So the minimum goal will be, I need this amount of money to be able to fulfill my rewards and get my book published. But, that number might be rather low. Maybe it will only cover, your cover design. But then you head up towards the ladder, and you put your maximum goal as your dream goal of being able to cover all your expenses. And this way, as long as you meet that minimum goal, you don't lose all your hard work for getting these pre-orders towards your book. Analytics. And we offer market analytics for your book. So at the end of your campaign, whether you choose to do a 30-day or a 60-day campaign, we give you a breakdown of who your supporters were on Pubslush. We give you their demographics, so whether they're male or female, where they're located, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, internationally. We give you their age, so if their target age is between 20 and 40, we break it down. And we also break down how they got to your page. So whether it was from your Twitter account, or whether it was from your blog, or whether it was from your She Writes page, whichever outlet they came to your page, we track that for you. So it really helps you to market your book post-campaign. And you see, if 98% came from your blog, you want to focus a lot of your efforts on your blog, because that's where you're getting the most traffic. Personalized service. This goes back to what I spoke about a little bit earlier, is that Pubslush, because we are solely for books, we have connections within the industry. We've made relationships with different partners, whether it be from ebook distribution, with our connection with She Writes Press, for example, and different organizations that really know the industry inside and out. So we can advise on a more personal one-on-one level with each author, where if you were to go to other crowdfunding sites that really handle all types of projects, they're really just there to help you crowdfund, and that's all they really can offer. Where we take that 1, 2, 3 steps further and really help the author succeed. We have the lowest fee in the industry, which is huge for a lot of authors, because if you're raising, and you only make your minimum goal, every little bit counts. So our fee is 4%. We're risk-free and contract-free, like I said, and we're completely global, and we're expanding every single day. So, if you have an aunt in Canada, they can support you, and that's huge, because there's a lot of people that are looking to crowdfund internationally as well. So we're bringing those eyes to the site and that market to the site as well. Next slide. So what do you need to submit your book profile? A lot of authors are constantly asking me, you know, how much do I need? How much time is this going to take me to do something else for my book? And to be quite honest, it's very simple. It's all things that you already have about your book. You most likely already have a summary, possibly the summary that you place on the back cover of your book, an overview, a short, 20 words about what your book is about to give someone that's reading very quickly an overview. A main image. This image, we very much discourage your cover of your book. We feel that an image that really ties into your characters, into maybe what your theme, your genre, that will be eye-catching, is more of a fit. And a short excerpt, 5 to 10 pages, something that you already have, your best chapter, your first chapter, something that gives a great insight to what your book is about, what your writing style is about, who your character is about, so people can really get a good idea before they support. And something that's not listed here, but we do recommend, is a video. A video can sometimes excite people and get them all excited and pumped up to record, and some people get intimidated. So we leave that as an optional, but it's very, very helpful in really letting your supporters see your face, hear the story behind your story, why you wrote it, who your characters are, and really getting it from your mouth to their ears. And we really believe that a lot of our authors that take the time to build a great video have extreme success. Next slide. So crowdfunding, now after all these things, it might seem pretty easy, but it does take a lot of hard work. So I've included some great ways to be successful. So I'll go through these with you really quickly. And these are steps that we constantly are telling our authors to do pre-campaign and during campaign to really be as successful as they possibly can be. So pre-campaign research, so crucial. People contact us and we really give them this tip to really be successful. They need to strategize. They need to not put up their project right away. If you spent 1 year, 5 years, 10 years on your book, don't throw your crowdfunding project up in a day. Really take the time to create those reward levels, to set a goal that will make you the most amount of money and that is reasonable for you, so you don't have a huge burden on top of you. Make sure that you plan out, if you have a reward, make sure you factor in your shipping costs, because you'll be mailing out these rewards. So really just taking the time to really plan your campaign and be as effective as possible. Know your audience. No matter what your crowdfunding project is, there's a specific audience that'll be more inclined to be interested and support your campaign. So if you have a book that is more in the sci-fi genre, you might want to reach out to those sci-fi bloggers, those sci-fi Twitter fans and Facebook fans, and really, talk to them and get them excited about your book. Showcase that, something new is coming out in a subject that they already are interested in. So knowing your audience and then acting on it is huge. Knowing the age and gender will definitely help maximize your time and your efforts. Target. This builds on knowing your audience. Once you know your audience, you need to focus. Your focus should be to reach out to that particular group of people. Learn where those people are from, both on the internet and in your own community. So if you are in a small town and your target is young adults, maybe you go to the schools in your area, the libraries, and you see there's a place where you can do a book reading. The options are just so endless. But make sure you're reaching out in the appropriate platforms. As I said, finding blogs that your audience reads and that has a huge reach in their network will get your book heard. And they might not necessarily come to your platform and come to your campaign on Pubslush and donate, but they might check out your page and spread the word, and they'll talk about it, and it will resonate with them. Number 4, don't be timid. People are always saying, I don't want to ask for handouts. I don't want to ask my family to support me. But your success is directly related to the amount of time and effort you put into your campaign. You need to just don't be shy about asking people to support you. They're getting something in return. They're getting a copy of your book, and most people are going to want something that you put a lot of time and effort into, especially your own network. The funds will not raise themselves, but that would be nice. So make sure you put yourself out there and ask people to support you. The worst they can say is no, and if they say no, maybe you can ask them to share it on their Facebook wall or give you a retweet, and maybe that will enable someone in their network that will be interested to help them spread the word. We try and tell our authors to give their supporters as much information as possible. So share with them, updates and things like that. Number 5, be personal and make it easy. So when you're asking for support within your network, it's always more effective to do it on a personal level. So if you send out a mass email, which most of you probably get on a daily basis, like I do, sometimes you just delete them and you don't really delve in. But sending out a really personal message that's genuine will really get to your audience. It will really reach that close network of people. Whether it's via email or via a message with your link to your campaign, these tactics we have seen to be very effective. But make it as easy for them as possible. Give them as much information so they don't need to respond. They can just click right away. 6, keep your supporters updated. This kind of goes hand in hand to what I was just speaking about. Is once you have a supporter that came to your campaign and donated money towards your book idea, you want to continue to keep those supporters intrigued and engaged in your platform. So sending them updated emails, there's a comments wall on your page that you can leave comments for those supporters, letting them know, maybe you got your cover design finalized and you want to update them, because that will get them back and excited to your page, and that will maybe entice them to share this project. People love being a part of the publication process, the discovery process. Look at something like American Idol. The American Idol was all about the discovery process, and people were calling in and voting for perfect strangers. So this is a way to get your personal network behind you and have them share it to their personal network, and hopefully that trickle effect will make you successful. And last but not least is having enticing rewards. This is so crucial. We touched on it a little bit before, but people generally don't support crowdfunding campaigns for the rewards, but it's still important to put a lot of thought behind the reward levels you create. The effort you put in them will determine your success for the campaign. It's super important to remember that some of the most enticing rewards are the fun and creative ones that don't necessarily cost you, the author, very much money. So for example, an author is crowdfunding for a book and they promise the name of the character, like I said earlier. It costs you nothing, but it's fun, and it gets that supporter excited, and then they're going to want to buy copies and show people that their name is included in the book. We had an author on Pubslush that did a discover by in the back of the book. So the book was discovered by 200 people, and all their names were included in every copy sold. That's an exciting thing that cost the author nothing, but was really exciting for the reader. Next page, Brooke. Thank you. And the most important thing here is using the social media that most of you might be on every single day. Using your current network. So Facebook is more of your personal networks, family, friends, coworkers, people you've met along the way. So those are more your personal interactions. But these other outlets out there like Twitter, like your blog, these things are more of your general network. So use Twitter to its advantages. Search those hashtags that might be relevant to your topic, to characters in the book, to maybe a catchphrase that is something that is your tagline. Use those available free tools and really maximize them as much as possible. Make sure you're always being specific. You never want to be too general, but at the same time, you want people to feel a connection to you as the author and not necessarily being too pitchy. We always advise our authors to build their following before they're trying to promote the book. And with that being said, it does take time, but it should not overwhelm you. Take it slow. If you're writing a blog, maybe it's just follow-ups to funny anecdotes from your book, or a play on words to something that you've seen somewhere else. But people are going to read the blog, and then they'd be more enticed to read your book. Always remember to stay consistent. If your Twitter is constantly funny and your updates are always really great, then you want to make sure that resonates through. But if you're very serious, I met a woman that was writing a book on bed bugs, and her tweets were constantly about fun facts about bed bugs, and she was always getting retweeted because people were just always laughing, but they were facts that really intrigued people, and her whole Twitter was about bed bugs. So something like that, where that was the topic of her book, that's what the message she was trying to promote, and people would constantly follow her because they wanted these updates. So it's important to really stay on target and know your audience, but also be true to yourself. People are going to follow your own voice. And also not to get overwhelmed by social media. There are so many different outlets there today, and really find where you feel you can be most effective with the time that you have for your book. That's key here. And making sure you're building your brand, being your own entrepreneur. Most people have full-time jobs aside from writing their book, so this is just something fun, but be passionate about it, stand true, And we tell our authors, tell one new person about your book and send them over to Pubslush, and they're going to check it out, and that passion will hopefully resonate to them, supporting, if not sharing, your story. Next slide. Oh, so this is kind of a wrap up because I want to get to all of your questions, but we have more information that it's provided on pubslush.com/101 for you guys to check out. It gives a little bit more in detail than what we talked about.
There's the information. Sorry about that. I'm having a weird thing where every time I click on the questions box, it's popping the browser out. So yeah, there's all the information, everyone. And thanks, Amanda. That's fantastic. Please, everyone, go ahead and put your questions into the question box. There's lots of great information here. And one thing I'm curious about, Amanda, if you could answer this question. I mean, I talk to authors all the time who have a lot of resistance to the idea of doing crowdfunding. I think that, there's so much sort of personal stuff wrapped around asking for money, especially for your own personal project. And so do you encounter that much, and do you guys have advice for people like that, or do you find that it's not so much an issue that people are confronting when they come to you?
I find that definitely people are more hesitant, definitely, as I said, to ask for money. But I also feel that most of the people that they're going to be asking for money will be buying their book just for the pure fact of having it on their bookshelf, the family, a friend, someone in their network, someone they want to support. So this is just a different way of going about it, and it really helps the author, gain a little bit of those extra funds pre-publication. So a lot of the authors I encounter, they're going to publish their book no matter what. The funds, it's harping over them, but this is their dream, and they just really use Pubslush to kind of see who's ordering, see what kind of interest there is, get that final push out there. A lot of our authors have been using it as a pre-order tool, which has been super effective because it gets your book into the hands of 60, 100, 200 people before that publication date. So you already have people you can contact and follow up with for those Amazon reviews that you desperately want the day your book goes live on Amazon. So it really gives people the opportunity to get their book out there, to get some extra funds. But we do, Brooke, have authors that have that concern. But once the book is up there, if they come to us for advice on how to really get their book information out there, you don't want as much as they can.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. Cool. All right, the questions are starting to come in. So Serena asks, how many people, funders, are on Pubslush? But maybe, I think it's a question. Yeah, I think she probably is maybe thinking about it a little differently than how you guys actually exist. I mean, is it the case that if you have a Pubslush account, you have your own page and then you drive traffic to that page?
Absolutely. So for example, we give every author their own customized vanity URL. So for example, I'm just going to use She Writes. She Writes their customized URL with us is shewritespress.pubslush.com. So every author has their own customized link, so you can drive traffic to your page that way. So with all crowdfunding projects across the board, the statistic is no matter what platform you go to, 80% of the traffic comes from the author's own promotion, which is very similar to, for example, if you're a first-time author and you put your book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, if you're not promoting it and you're not out there marketing yourself, your book will just hang out. So it's the same with Pubslush. You need to drive that traffic and you need to get people excited about your project. So every single book project has a different amount of supporters. That's not to say that people are constantly coming back to Pubslush and checking out new projects and supporting strangers. I meet people all the time. They're like, we just checked out your site and I supported this book and I don't know them. So it does happen all the time, but majority, that 80%, does come from your network. But with that being said, your page is your book page. We're actually, within the next month, should be going live in 2 weeks. Anyone that is successful on Pubslush, once their campaign is completed, we're switching their reward levels to a buy button, which is going to be a great feature for our authors as our community continues to grow, because once they've raised the funds and their book is available on Amazon, that'll be some extra traffic that our community will bring to the book, and people want to see successful stories. People always are contacting me at Pubslush saying, I checked out a book last month, but I didn't support it then, but I'm still interested. And it's always happening with us. People are interested and they might not support at the time, but they want to buy it now. So us instituting the buy button will be such a great marketing tool for the author that, as we continue to grow as a community of readers.
That's great. So from Claudette, does your book have to be completed to participate in Pubslush?
No, we actually get authors at all phases of the game. So I actually just met someone yesterday who is coming on and basically using the 60 days to promote the book, but also write it. And his, he wants to have it out by spring, but he wants to do the crowdfunding first. But then there's people that are completely done and they're in editing and they crowdfund. And then there's people that have their book in their hand and they want to do it as pre-orders. And then there's the people that have their book on Amazon, but they need that extra marketing dollars and they really believe that they can raise money via Pubslush. So it really is any stage of the game. We take manuscripts at all levels, and we usually advise our authors to share on their page what they're raising the funds for and what stage of the game they're at, so their supporters are aware of where they are. And we also allow the author to let them know when the estimated day of arrival of their reward would be. So for this gentleman who his book is not going to be out until the spring, his date would be May 2014. And people committing to him will know that they're not going to get their book until May of 2014. So people who commit are just dedicated and want the book. So, but it's, any stage.
In that sense, you really could pre-sell, like you're saying, your book at any stage of the game.
Yes. I mean, we have had right now 100% success rate in the fact that people who have been successful on Pubslush have published and have fulfilled their rewards. The authors are in agreement with their supporters to fulfill those rewards. So we haven't encountered a problem. All of our authors we constantly communicate with. We know what stage of the game they're at. But yes, you can really be at any stage of the game to fundraise.
Great. So you mentioned that you, Pubslush, have connections with the industry. So what does this specifically look like for those who campaign with Pubslush, and what can the authors expect?
As we continue to grow as a company, our connections within the industry are continuing to grow. So for example, we've made a connection with a gentleman that can help you become an Amazon bestseller. He wrote a book about it. Now he offers a package about it, and we're partnering with him to get our authors a discount through us. Same thing with something like a BookBaby. BookBaby.com offers ebook distribution to all ebook providers. So Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, you name it, they distribute it. And they charge a fee. Anyone that goes through Pubslush gets 10% off. And I can keep going. But we provide our authors with lists of different connections we have. If they're looking for a copy editor, if they're looking for a cover designer, if they're looking for an ebook designer, whatever their need might be, we can help them in any way we possibly can to help them make that connection and take that book to the next level.
That's great. So Wanda asks, are you allowed to use all three crowdfunding platforms for the same book or at the same time?
Yes, you can. I don't recommend it. I recommend build. So for example, on Pubslush, if you were to launch a campaign for 30 days, for example, and then you want to come back 90 days later because maybe you're fundraising for another portion of the book, or maybe now it's available for pre-sale, you can just reactivate that campaign and add additional days, and all of your information, your vanity URL, everything, your video, all your descriptions, everything saved within your profile. So if you were to place all your information on multiple sites, you're going to be driving traffic to 3 different sites. So for example, on Kickstarter, if you don't make your maximum, your goal, they don't have a minimum and maximum, you're going to lose all your funds. So then those are funds that could have went to your Indiegogo or Pubslush campaign where you would have been able to keep all the funds. But Indiegogo charges 9% for flex funding. So if you don't make your main goal and you only make half, you're going to get charged 9%. So I recommend researching and picking the one that fits what's best for you as an author, and really focusing all your efforts on driving traffic to that specific page. And I would recommend that for any instance, and especially also when your book is for sale. If your book's for sale on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you want to really drive traffic to one specific site so those numbers increase and you can be visible. I know with Pubslush, as you earn more money, you get more visibility on our site. So we would really, we would advise you to really, I know it's cliche to stick all your eggs in one basket, but in this case, it's probably to your benefit as an author.
Definitely. So Jet Wilson has this question. Kickstarter apparently drives traffic to what they rate as the most popular projects. And do you do the same?
Absolutely. Right now, as we continue to grow, it's people that make over their minimum goal that get highlighted on our homepage. We are also growing. This is something that I didn't mention within the webinar, but I'll mention now very briefly. We've also just recently rolled out 2 programs called Pubslush Pro and Pubslush Custom. This is She Writes Press is actually a Pubslush Pro, has a Pubslush Pro page, meaning that more publishers and organizations in the literary community will be creating pages on Pubslush. So more eyes in the publishing world will be viewing the site. So that will definitely help increase the visibility for authors. And we're building these publisher relationships in the hope that these publishers will hopefully contact authors that are gaining a huge amount of momentum on Pubslush and offering them traditional publishing deals if that's what the author sees fit. Some authors really are passionate about self-publishing, and some authors really wish to get that traditional deal. So it all just depends on the author, but that's where we see the future of Pubslush.
That's great, really smart. So what if the author is publishing an ebook only rather than just paperback? Have authors on your site done this before, and have they been successful?
Yes, absolutely. I think ebook is the way of the future, and many people are switching over to just an ebook until the ebook takes off, and then they possibly head over to print. Ebook is 100% acceptable. We love it. It just changes a little bit of how you set up your reward structure, which is something that we would be able to help you design to be more focused on just an ebook type of outreach. Maybe you set your rewards starting a little bit lower. Your main goal might be a little bit lower. But if you have some great enticing rewards, it shouldn't affect your campaign whatsoever, and we definitely encourage it.
Okay, fantastic. And Faith asks, how much time should you allow in your publishing schedule for crowdfunding? And I think you sort of addressed that earlier when you were talking about that you could do it at any time. And I think maybe the more interesting question is, like, if someone were going to take this on, how much time should they allow for effective preparation for the campaign, do you think?
Well, I believe that a lot of the material, aside from, let's just say, the rewards, which is specific to crowdfunding, a lot of the material the author usually already has when they're at that, finished manuscript portion of the book. That's I would recommend the ideal time to head onto Pubslush is when you've completed the manuscript, it's heading into editing, and you have that time where you're kind of waiting for the edits, but you want to start marketing the book. It's going to be coming out in 60 to 90 days, and you really want to get that push going. You have more time to focus on your blog, more time to focus on your social media outreach, because the book is heading towards that completion phase. I think that it's important to really reward levels could take you an hour if you're focused, and a video, as I said, was optional, but that could take an hour to 2 hours. So I think that the campaign itself, actually creating it and getting it up there, shouldn't take you more than a day. But as I said, it's not about creating the campaign. That's the easy part. It's about actually getting the people to visit your campaign. So that's something that we really help our authors be strategic about and plan pre, during, and post on how to get that traffic to the site.
Okay, great. And Penny asks, how many people have campaigns going on Pubslush?
It's constantly changing because of the amount of days. So we run campaigns between 30 and 60 days, and that's completely flexible as well. An author came on the other day for 15 days. So we're as I said, going back to that personal one-on-one. If an author has a specific need, they reach out to us, and we are there for them to accommodate. Right now, I think at the current time we have about 30 active and live. Some are at 0, and some are doing amazingly and are skyrocketing. So it just all depends, again, with the amount of days that they choose and the traffic that's coming in and out in regards to supporters.
Okay, great. And Valerie asks, can I make 2 different levels of funding, one for traditional publishing, and if that doesn't work, one for self-publishing? And can you help determine the funding for each?
I think in my recommendation and opinion, I think that it's really important for authors nowadays, and when I speak about authors, I mean first-time authors trying to be published, that to really to really plan on self-publishing their book heading into it if they're torn between the two options. But that being said, it's just very hard to get into the eyes of a traditional publisher. But if you go into it, wanting to self-publish, and you get 2,000 pre-orders, which is a crazy amount out of the gate, that traditional publisher will be knocking at your door. I think the goals are very similar for setting up in Pubslush. A lot of the preliminary things, such as your editing, copy editing, those are costs that you're going to have to take on regardless of whether a traditional publisher takes you on or not. Maybe a cover design is something you don't put as much money into, because if you really want that traditional deal, they'll most likely scrap whatever cover you have and redesign it anyway. So I think that, in my opinion, I think you should really go towards that self-publishing goal first and get a book that has a lot of readership, and then the traditional publishing will just be a great second option. Does that answer that question, Brooke?
I think it does. Coming in and scooping up self-published books all over the place, and so the more visibility you have, I think that Pubslush, in addition to being crowdfunding, is also just about getting early visibility, and so it's, it's just a smart additional resource for you, money aside.
Absolutely, and as I said before, as our community, we're fairly new into the crowdfunding industry, but as we continue to grow in this, this niche type of community, and where it's just readers and writers and book lovers, more and more, as our publisher program continues to grow and more publishers' eyes, that's our hope. In that, I forget who asked that question. Who is that? Who asked that question?
The one that we just said. That's a good question, because I've moved down. I think. Sorry, I'm not sure.
No, it's okay. Well, regardless, I really think it's a great way to really get yourself out there and get your name out there without really giving yourself, I'm going to be traditionally published and that's it. Because I've met people that took that route, and they still haven't seen a traditional publisher. And then people that, like an author from our site, she went into it knowing she was going to have to self-publish, and then a traditional publisher approached her after she raised $15,000 with 300 supporters. It was an amazing accomplishment for her, and she got that traditional deal without even wanting it. So it's really about keeping your eye on the prize and focusing on you want your book to be read regardless of how it gets published.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Valerie. Sorry about that. I'm scrolling down. There's tons of questions. So Sonia, hi Sonia, says, my book is an anthology with 64 authors, and we're putting an event together to launch it on September 26th. So we're giving back to a nonprofit and are getting sponsors for the event with 500 people. Very awesome. We have well-known keynote speaker who agreed to attend. Would raising funds to pay for the funding of this event be a possibility on Pubslush?
Yes, I think this is actually an interesting type of scenario. I think it's actually twofold, and this is something that, kind of what I said before, that we would talk to an author on more one-on-one basis. What I would suggest in this type of situation is selling tickets through your Pubslush event. So having the event be where you sell your tickets and you get a copy of the book all before the event happens, and then you can also run all your transactions through your Pubslush page so people get some additional rewards. I actually have a gentleman doing something a little bit similar. It's not for an event. It's actually for a 21 city cross-country journey. It's called Mark from Earth. He's currently on our site. He's amazing. He's driving city to city for 90 days in a milk truck that he designed to look like a space machine from his book, and selling books out of the back of his car through Pubslush and giving away like all promo. And it's super creative. It's never been done before, but this out of the box thinking is definitely going to get eyes on his project, which I think is an awesome idea. So to answer your question, I think that I would be very interested to talk further about this anthology. I think it's a great way. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I don't think I did. We have the Pubslush Foundation, but we also, which gives children's books to an organization that is called Flying Kites that we work with. But we also let authors opt to pick their own foundation if they wish. So they can give a portion of the proceeds to their own foundation, which is really interesting, and we've had 2 of our authors do already.
Yeah, and Sonia's just following up to say that their event is free though, so they're not going to be able to sell tickets, but it sounds like you could do some interesting rewards opportunities for those people. But yeah, it's a trade-off, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely interested in talking further about that type of
Okay.
situation.
Yeah, so Sonia, you should definitely get in touch with Amanda directly. I mean, I think that these kinds of things, I see this stuff all the time, that there is a lot of value in the rewards, you know, and I've seen some people doing really interesting kinds of things, you know, I mean, it could be, I mean, especially, I happen to know Sonia, I mean, she has a bit of a platform, you know, it's like you could give away something that you already have, you know, whether it's books you already have, old books, you know, it could be, if you're a coach or a consultant, it could be something like that, you know, so it just seems like the opportunities are endless in terms of the things that you can give as incentives, right?
Yes, and also if you have anthologies are really great for crowdfunding platforms because they, every one person, if you can commit, if every one person can commit to 10 books at a certain level, that will help you raise additional funds to put towards the event. And a lot of these people will want that book to be out there in the world. So that will definitely, I mean, I feel as though if you want to do pre-orders and actually, um, most interesting thing about having an event, I'm not sure, as I said, we'd have to talk about this further, but I'm not sure if you have the book already finished, but that's something that you could have people pre-order and receive at the event, so it saves you money shipping and is more money to go towards the event, which a lot of authors don't take into consideration, which we advise. Shipping does cost a lot, especially shipping a book. It's it adds up, so that's something that you can keep in mind if you wanted all these people to receive books. It's a cost that you would not have to encounter.
That's great. That's interesting. Okay, so are the contributions tax deductible?
If they no, they're not tax deductible. I mean, if they give to the foundation, they receive an email letting them know that they donated a percentage to the foundation, and but that's the author. The author's portion is tax deductible, not the supporter.
Okay. And so let's see. Curious question here about legal rights from Brian. Can you expand on the legal rights that Pubslush has when an author promotes their work through your site?
Like copyright, do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you don't retain any rights to the material, right? If they were to post,
Absolutely not. No,
yeah,
absolutely not.
nothing.
Pubslush, you're not in contract. We don't retain any of the rights. This is a question that gets brought up a lot in all types of crowdfunding. If you put a business idea up on Kickstarter, if you put a music idea, whatever this case might be, because it's such a small sample of your work, you're only giving about 5 to 10 pages. We have never run into any type of copyright issue. Most authors choose to copyright their books anyway, for their own self. It's very inexpensive, and if people approach us with that type of question, we know 2 to 3 reputable people that we refer them to, but we don't run into that, and we know, and Pubslush doesn't keep any. We don't reserve any rights. All the rights are to the author all the time, and we keep
Great.
and basically it's technically copyrighted via Pubslush because if you place your book on our site, it's stored in there forever as your work. So.
Okay, fantastic. And then Penny asks, one of the other crowdfunding sites won't show your page if you don't have enough traffic. Do you have any kind of restrictions like that?
No, at this time we don't. Not to say that we might not in the future, but right now we show all projects that are live and active. The difference between a lot of the other sites, just an FYI, is I know for a fact that Kickstarter doesn't approve every project, so they need they filter through, and I think they only, especially for books. Books has a 2% success rate on Kickstarter, and they're the lowest tier of success stories that Kickstarter produces because they just don't get enough visibility. Their goals aren't large enough. So, if they don't have a big enough goal, they don't get a lot more visibility. Where when you're writing a book, you don't need, $1 million. You don't need $100,000. I mean, that would be amazing to put towards your marketing campaign, but it's a lot of money. So those books don't really get seen on those platforms. With us, every book gets an equal amount of time to capture that visibility on our homepage, and they get every book it's showcased starting at $0. So yes, you get visibility for as long as your campaign's running at 0. It's sad. It makes us very sad when no one gets any money. We want to support everyone, but that really, as I said, the onus comes down to the author and really getting their promotion up.
Okay, great. I'm just going to take a couple more questions, and unless there's something that you're dying to share, Amanda, that hasn't been asked, so that we're going to wrap up about 5 minutes before the hour. Many authors struggle with the idea of developing a blog for fear of providing too much of the book, and I definitely know that to be true, not necessarily through blogs, but I think that a lot of people struggle with how much of their content to share. But this question specifically is, do you feel that people who have more of a presence, a blog in this case specifically, but I think this speaks to social media, are they more successful or less successful at raising funds?
To be completely honest, it's very, very case by case basis. I know an author that we just actually published through our imprint. Her name's Ali Berlensky. She produced a book called A Beautiful Mess. She's writing posts that are just kind of humorous extensions to her work. So, if people read her blog, it wouldn't ruin anything in the book. She just is continuing her personality because she wrote more of a short story collection, memoir type book. So in that case, it's just an extension to what her book is about. So I think, and in some cases, if you, like I said earlier about the bed bugs, if you're sharing fun facts about that, that's not really, that might be giving away too much of what they would already find in your book. So I think there's a fine line. I don't know if everyone needs a blog. I think it's definitely important to contact people that have blogs within your genre or within your topic or within your community of what you're writing about, because those people that already have an established following will get the word out about your book and write about you, and that might be more powerful than spending the time every day writing an hour piece that no one's going to take the time to read, unless you have a strong following that you've acquired over time. I really believe that if it's more of a burden than something that you enjoy doing, then you should put your time to really using the other social media tools that really will captivate more of an audience for your book.
All right, good advice.
Does that answer that question? It's a fine line. I don't like to say anything yes or no, because it just depends on the author and depends on the book. I mean, for a children's book, I would tell someone, no, don't waste your time on a blog. Like, that doesn't make sense. No children are going to read your blog. But in some cases, you really do need a blog. It's really fun. So
yeah, no, I think you answered it really well, and I think it just speaks to the fact of, any kind of visibility. I mean, it's very interesting because a lot of what you're talking about is parallel to building an author platform. It's like, if you really think about a lot of your answers, the same things that you're doing to drive people to your Pubslush page, or what you would be doing in any capacity to drive people to your book or to drive people to you and your message. And so it's interesting because in some ways you could experiment with what works and what doesn't work, and sort of gauge the popularity of certain kinds of campaigns by experimenting with Pubslush. So I think it's fascinating to me to look at the parallels.
Absolutely, and I think it's so important. We let authors include their blog or their website, their social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever they have on their Pubslush page. So you're able to it's more of a one-stop shop. You're able to promote your campaign, but they also can click around and get to your other social media sites very easily. And I think it's also super important to remember that, with this new feature with the buy button, it's like your name, your book is just going to always be out there on Pubslush as we continue to grow. So I think that feature alone will definitely, I feel, entice authors to say, I rather get my book on there, possibly raise some money, but then, the more people that come to Pubslush will get to see my book and possibly buy it after the campaign is over. It's a walking marketing tool for an author.
Perfect. And so the last question for tonight is going to be about money, which just seems appropriate. I think it's good to end on money or inspiration. How are the funds from Pubslush remitted to the author?
The author has an option to receive a check or to have it wire transferred into their bank account. The wire transfer actually has a small fee associated with it, but it's an option because a lot of people need the money, would prefer the money right away to be visible in their bank account, but most authors opt for a check sent to their home or whatever address they prefer.
Right.
We do come across, those people that don't want to divulge their banking information, which is completely understandable. So we give them multiple options. And then also, if you're an international author, we send them a check unless they have an American bank account, a USA bank account.
All right, well, this is great. Well, I encourage everyone to follow what Pubslush is doing on Twitter, on Facebook, check out their site. You can also link directly to the She Writes Pubslush page from our website at shewritespress.com if you want to see an example of what that looks like, and obviously you can go cruise around and see what's going on Pubslush directly. And thank you, Amanda, so much for being here tonight. And anyone who has specific questions that weren't addressed, you can go ahead and email Pubslush directly at hello@pubslush.com, and I'm sure they'll be fielding questions on Facebook and elsewhere. And so more than anything, we just want to thank you for your time tonight and just for providing this very generous, free educational webinar. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. And I just wanted to let everyone know I can be reached personally at amanda@pubslush.com. If you guys want to reach out, just let me know that you were in the webinar. And also, we are doing tomorrow morning, the site will be completely updated with several different new features. So check back by tomorrow morning, and you'll get to see some new updates that we're offering to our authors, which are really exciting, and we'll be letting everyone know about in our upcoming newsletter.
Fun. All right. Thanks. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
Good night.